So there's a great joy in turning away from the busyness of life and finding time throughout your life for this seclusion, for some quietness, isolation, really taking the time to be with yourself. There's a great joy in that. And getting to experience that joy is part of the retreat practice. Hey guys, so in this video I'm going to talk about my top 5 reasons to consider going on a silent meditation retreat. So these are the things that make me go on silent retreats, and just a few reasons why you might want to consider going on a silent retreat yourself. So the first reason to consider going on a silent meditation retreat is just to have a few days of a digital detox. So if you're anything like me, you're kind of constantly connected to your devices in some form or another. We might wake up and, at least within the first hour or so of waking up, we're already connected to our phone, maybe our computer, checking emails, checking social media. And we can kind of live our life in this autopilot mode where we're just sucked into our devices. And so going on a silent retreat is a really powerful time to take a conscious and intentional step away from your devices, social media, internet, all of these things that we get pulled into out of habit. And going on a silent retreat where you give up your phones, you give up your laptops, you put all of that away is a wonderful time because you're in this big community together, everyone practicing this renunciation practice together. It's very hard to do a digital detox on your own if you've ever tried one. But going on a silent retreat is a nice excuse. You can put it on your email as a vacation responder and say, I'm on a silent retreat, I can't respond to your emails for the next 5 days. So it's a nice excuse to have for family and friends and coworkers of why you need to get away from your devices. So that's my first reason of why you might want to consider going on a retreat. And I honestly think if you went on a silent retreat and you didn't even meditate, you just did a digital detox for 5 days, you would still get a lot of benefit out of the retreat. So even if you've never meditated before in your life, it's still a really powerful practice. Number 2 is to have some time experiencing what we call the joy of seclusion. So this is related to taking that digital detox, but there's a great joy in the ability or kind of removing yourself from the busyness of our day-to-day life. And there's actually a term for this in Buddhist philosophy. They call it viveka or viveka. And it means the joy of seclusion. So there's a great joy in turning away from the busyness of life and finding time throughout your life for this seclusion, for some quietness, isolation, really taking the time to be with yourself. There's a great joy in that. And getting to experience that joy is part of the retreat practice. So if you've ever been on retreat, you know what I'm talking about. This moving away from the busyness of society and taking time for seclusion and isolation. And if you've never been on retreat, take my word for it. There's a great joy in seclusion. The third benefit, and I'm actually checking my notes right down there, that's why sometimes I'm looking down. The third benefit of going on retreat is having some time where we cultivate an appreciation for the little things in life. So what are the small joys that we can take throughout the day? The taste of coffee in the morning of our breakfast, or appreciation of feeling the wind and the breeze on our face. There's so many moments in our life that we could be grateful for. But the key understanding is that gratitude or gratefulness is a skill that we need to practice. So it's not going to just come automatically. We actually need to cultivate this skill. And on retreat, we get opportunities all throughout the day where we're practicing, can we be content with what's happening? Can we appreciate what's going on? Can we be grateful for what is offered? So having this time where we set aside the time to intentionally cultivate really healthy mind states like gratitude and appreciation and contentment. It has these incredible ripple effects throughout our life. So that's the third reason to consider going on retreat, is just this rekindling of an appreciation for all the little things in our life. The fourth is that going on retreat, it gives you a technique to change the habit patterns of your mind. So this one is, so powerful, that you are learning a technique, a skill, where you can start to change the habit patterns of the mind. You change the habitual tendencies of the mind. It's so important for a life of fulfillment, a life of success, a life of growing and changing and being skillful and being a good person in the world, is learning how to see what are the habit patterns of the mind and how can you subtly incline yourself towards more skillful ways of living. So this is really, really powerful. It's one of the reasons I started going on retreats, is that I realized I was having so many of these habits and tendencies of my mind that were leading me towards suffering. Things like addiction, or things like comparison, like comparing myself to others, the inner critic, self-judgment. So learning how to change the habit pattern of the mind is so, so powerful. And this is why it's my number 4 reason to consider going on a silent retreat at least once in your life. Now, number 5 is that we get a chance to cultivate wisdom. And this, something that, especially in the tradition, that I train in, and the tradition of Vipassana or insight meditation, it's all about balancing these two things of wisdom and compassion. And so I guess number 5 is actually not just about wisdom, but that we're taking time out of our life to cultivate these two very important qualities of wisdom and compassion. So how can we see more clearly the nature of the life we're living? How can we grasp less at things that are inherently unstable and impermanent? How can we cultivate more love and kindness and compassion and care for the people in our life? So this is, one of the most powerful and important reasons why we go on a Vipassana retreat especially. There are many kinds of meditation retreats, but in the context of a Vipassana retreat or an insight meditation retreat, it really comes down to cultivating wisdom and compassion. Can we take this time out of our day to cultivate these really wholesome qualities of the heart and mind? And, one of the most selfish things you can do is cultivate wisdom and compassion, because the amount of inner fulfillment and inner peace that you can experience when you're cultivating these wholesome mind states is beyond any other kind of pleasure you can experience. It's beyond sense pleasure. It's beyond even spiritual pleasures. The state of wisdom, of equanimity, of seeing clearly, being at peace with yourself is so profound. And so I hope you choose to go on a silent retreat at least once in your life, so you can begin to taste what that kind of freedom is like. Begin to taste, the kind of freedom that you can experience from going on a retreat like this. So those are my 5 top reasons to consider going on a silent retreat. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, or consider hitting the subscribe button down below somewhere. And the reason I'm doing this video is we have a couple silent retreats coming up here in Chiang Mai. So one starts this Friday, and then we have another one over New Year's Eve. So if you're interested in silent retreats, definitely send me a message. We've got a few spots left. So that's it for today. I hope you all have a wonderful day.